Alright, so as I already made clear in my in my introduction, is that data is a super important aspect of Houdini. It's basically the most important part, and that's the thing you're gonna need to understand when working in Houdini. And once you do, you can basically do anything. So before I'll actually start explaining the Houdini user interface and maybe some other stuff, I really just want to do a quick overview over like some aspects of data in Houdini and how they might differ from other 3D packages. As already mentioned, I might use a couple of technical terms that for like if you're already a 3D veteran and you've been doing 3D for a couple of years already, then you should know all these terms. If you're completely new to 3D, you might not know these terms. You probably can still follow along with the tutorial, but I will be using some industry terms that are just generally known. But I mean, if you're confused by that, just keep watching. In the end, it will all become clear. But just keep in mind that I'll be using some of those terms while explaining stuff. Right, so basically a 3D object will be just points in space connected by polylines, and then in the middle you'll have a polygon, a primitive. And in Houdini, each of these components are different data types. Let's say we have these points, and each point will have a coordinate in 3D space. So if you remember back from high school, from maths, you have quick maths. But you have, let's say you have a y-axis, you have an x-axis, and you have a z-axis. Let's say this point over here would be perhaps at x 0.3, y 0.7, and z 0.4. So just saying where it is located in 3D space. So basically, 3D programs will work the exact same way. And in Houdini, you can also see that. For example, if I look over here, you can see every point here has a location in space. So in Houdini, there's actually different data types which can contain these attributes. If I zoom in a little bit here on a part of my grid, you see I have a couple of points here and they make up a primitive. So you can see I have 0.0 here. So this point over here on the left is 0.0. It has a number, and I can highlight it as well. So that point is 0.0. 0.1 over there, 0.3 over there, 0.4 over there, and these points make this polygon basically. So this polygon, this is a primitive. The polygon is called a primitive, and then you have these lines in between. These are the polylines, and basically when they close, they make this primitive. This primitive has a number as well. So this is primitive number 0. So basically, you can see if I go across this this grid, you can see there's 4 primitives and there's 8 points. Well, actually 9, because we start at 0, of course, here. So there's 9 points. So that's basically just the data types in Houdini. But you can also see that each point here has 4 purple dots. So these 4 purple dots are actually vertices. So in Houdini, it's a little bit different from other 3D programs in that other 3D programs just use vertices as points as well. So if you just say vertex, you mean a point. In Houdini, there's a difference. So every point has 4 vertices around it. Well, basically, if it's going to be a quad, so this is a quad, so it's going to have 4 quads around it, so it's going to have 4 vertices. You can see over here as well. So those are the vertices, and these are generally used for shading stuff. So points are usually used for position-based stuff. So if I want to like change some position things, like I want to do a simulation and I want to have particles move around, those particles are points. If I want to distort my mesh, it's going to happen on points. So it's gonna add stuff to the point. We're gonna do shading stuff, like shading normals. So normals are the direction that basically a vertex is facing, or UVs, for example. UVs will also be generally on the vertices. Normals can also be on points. UVs can also be on points, but the thing is that there's more vertices, and you can have more detail on your vertices. A good way to demonstrate is that, well, you don't really have to follow along, but if I put a color, and I put the color to random, I scroll out, and I kind of need a little bit more detail to show this accurately. Let me put 12 by 12. So you can see I get random colors. You can see them sort of blending together. But you can put these colors also on different data types. So right now they're on the points. We're gonna go over this little window here in a second, by the way. I'm just keep following along with what I'm doing. So now they're on the point. If I put them on the vertices, you can see it looks way different. So now every vertex will get a random color, but now you can see there's no weird blend between the right now it's just blending from point to point. If I put it to vertex, you can see there's these hard lines, because right now it's doing on the vertices. If I do it on the primitives, you can see I just get primitive color. So every color for every primitive. So those are the basic data types that you're gonna work on. You're gonna work on points, you're gonna work on vertices, and you're gonna work on on the primitives. And there's more data types. You also have detail attributes, and detail is going to be work on the entire thing, so the whole thing at once. Anyway, so those are the just basic data things in Houdini that can contain data, and each of these can contain different types of data. Now, with that out of the way, let's just dive into just explaining the basic user interface of Houdini before we move along. But this was something I wanted to make clear before we start doing other stuff, because when I'm going to talk about the user interface, we're going to go on the different contexts in Houdini, and then I'm also going to mention some of these things. So I thought it would make sense to first explain the difference between points, primitives, vertices, and detail. So yeah, let's dive into the next part.